Welcome to Therapeutic Intentions Podcast. My name is Stephanie Dingbaum. I am a mental health therapist, and I am so passionate about all things health and wellness, personal development, and empowering others to be their most authentic and best versions of themselves. Here at Therapeutic Intentions, we are all about having intentional and authentic conversations on whole body health, healing practices, mindset, and ways to uplevel your life so you can truly be the best version of you. If you are a woman, a mom, hope to someday be a mom, a healer, or just in a place where you want to start prioritizing yourself and your health, then this podcast is for you. I am so glad you're here. If you're ready, let's get to it. Hello. Welcome back to Therapeutic Intentions Podcast. I am so excited, as I probably say in every episode or every collab, but I'm so excited today. We're kicking off October. I've got Ashleigh here, and I am super pumped, you guys, because when I think of October, when I think of Halloween season, my mind now thinks of Ashleigh. And I only met her not even a year ago. I met Ashleigh in a podcasting course with Kacia Ghetmiri. And that was the course that helped us get our podcast off the ground and running. And so I met her through that course, and I didn't even really connect with her until after the course, and loved her energy, loved her podcast theme. Just the whole idea, it just really resonated with me. And I don't know, I just felt like I need to connect more with this girl. And we were encouraging each other on Instagram and liking each other's posts. And I'm like, okay, this girl, I can get with her. This is great. And so, yeah, I asked her earlier this summer if we could do a collab this fall and you guys will understand as we go through the episode, but Ashleigh is when you think of Halloween, Ashleigh is Mrs. Halloween. She is spooky girl. She is the face of spooky season. So it really made complete sense to bring her on to kick off October, to kick off spooky season, because that is Ashleigh. If Halloween were a brand, it would be Ashleigh's face. I mean, I'm just being completely honest. And I love it. I'm so here for it because her energy, her demeanor, her podcast, her brand, it all really fits that spooky season vibe. And I just love it. So I'm so excited for you guys to hear from her today as we talk about all things spiritual health, crystals, tools that you can use alongside your energy healing and just healing in general. So we're going to talk about a variety of things today. But before we get into any of that, Ashleigh, can you please introduce yourself to the listeners?
Hello. Hi. Yes, I'm Ashleigh. I have my own podcast. It's called the Big Crystal Energy Podcast. And I am just a crystal girly at heart. I'm a mom. I have 2 little boys that keep me very busy. I have a husband. I have a full-time job. I work professionally as a physician assistant in orthopedic surgery, which is kind of way on the opposite end of the spectrum from, this side of me. My husband and I, we actually work together for 8 years now doing the same job. Wow. So he has no excuse, when he says he's too tired or doesn't want to deal with this or that with the kids, because I'm like, no, we have the same job. You can't say anything. But yeah, so, I've been going deep down the crystal metaphysical rabbit hole for a while now, but it really got I really went into it probably within the past year.
Yeah, that's amazing. Do you think the whole starting your podcast really helped to be more open about that side of you?
It has. So I knew that. So basically, I felt a calling to do something else other than just my regular job. I mean, I like my job. I like helping people, of course, but when you're working in medicine or you're working within a corporation, I mean, you can only go within what the corporation allows you. And I always just felt like I had something else inside of me. And then through some other things, which I'm sure we'll get into later in the podcast, I just decided oh my gosh, I need to figure out something for me because I'm a mom and I'm doing all these things, but I need something that's for me, that's truly for me. And so I had heard somewhere on some other podcast, they were saying oh, think back to things that excited you or made that you felt really in tune with when you were a kid. And I was
Oh
just
my
like,
gosh,
you know what?
yes.
And they're like, think about those things that you like always were just kind of like intuitively drawn to when you were younger, and find a way to tap back into that. And it was like, whoa, wait a minute. It just hit me like, this is the thing. And honestly, then I just started reading more and just getting more into it. And then I knew, well, what am I going to do with all of this? It's like, what am I going to do with it? So I loved, the girl that does our podcast course. I've been following her for years,
Yeah.
in more of like the health and fitness realm. And then she's kind of gone other ways. And so when she was offering this podcast course, I'm like, I'm just going to do it. And then it does help, because at least when you're learning something, I love to share it with other people too, but it's sometimes hard to find the audience that you can connect with. So this is like a perfect platform for that.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, you mentioned a couple things that I wanted to touch on. So you were listening to a podcast that talked about getting in touch with your inner child. That's so funny, because a lot of the work right now that I'm doing with clients, we're doing a lot of like healing our inner child wounds with multiple clients right now. And that is like the core of what I tell them is like, part of healing that wound is really getting in touch with like, what did that inner child like to do for fun? What did they do in their free time? What got them, like you said, what got them excited? Things like that. And then I've noticed even in my personal life, I'm like, yeah, I need to make sure I'm doing this too.
Mm-hmm.
And the podcast isn't that for me, but I loved dancing as a kid. I wasn't in dance. But I loved, like, my friends and I, when we got together, we'd always do like choreographed dances to different like Britney Spears songs and Destiny's Child and, 90s music. And I miss that so much. Like, literally lately, I texted one of my girlfriends and I'm like, can we just do garage dancing? Like, instead of a workout, can we just go in the garage and dance? Like, I miss that.
I love that.
That's like getting in touch with what my inner child needs. So it's so funny that you said that, because
when you work out, when you dance, when you really get into it, that's a good workout.
It is. I totally agree. Yeah, that's so funny that you brought that up. But I do agree with you. The podcast definitely, I like, in my instance, it was a calling on my heart, but I just didn't know how deep that calling really was until after I started the podcast. I did a reading with actually Hillary, who I just got done doing a mini series with. Yeah, she's
so good. I was like, oh my gosh, if I'm ever in Iowa, I messaged her. I actually messaged her, and then and she's like, oh, I think I might start offering like online stuff again. I'm like, I know, but I want like in person, because I feel like that's just. She's really, I've only listened to 2 episodes, but I just loved her energy so much.
She's good too. Yeah. And she did I had an Akashic record reading done with her. And that showed me a past life, where I was pregnant, and I was ashamed of being pregnant, and I had I had successfully died by suicide. By hanging myself. And so there was a lot of trauma with the throat chakra, a fear of speaking out because I was ashamed of what people were saying or were going to think of me. And so that really connected to the 2 big throat chakra, like injuries that I've had. So breaking my neck, and then my recent just getting my thyroid taken out last year. And so I had no idea how deep that wound was until that reading. And then she was like, after both injuries, like after breaking your neck, did you speak out? Yeah, I got into public speaking. Okay, after your surgery, did you do anything? I'm like, yeah, I took the podcast course. And she's like, okay, like this wound has to stay open. Like you'll heal this wound, but that throat chakra has to stay open. And I'm like, well, the podcast is here to stay. Like, I'm telling you.
That's amazing.
This is,
Isn't that wild, though? That's so wild to get that kind of information, because you would maybe never connect that.
No.
Right?
Gosh, no. Yeah. So it's now like, it's here to stay. Like, this is my baby right now, but it is here to stay. And I didn't, like you said, like, I just didn't know how deep that calling was until I got into it. And I love that yours is connected to your inner child, because that's a deep calling.
It really is.
Yeah, that's awesome. So let's dive in. So Big Crystal Energy Podcast. So you are like, I put you on a pedestal a little bit when it
Oh,
comes
you're
to
so sweet.
crystals. Like, you know your shit when it comes to crystals.
Well,
So
I'm learning. So, like one of the like kind of tenets of the podcast is sort of like for people that are learning too. So it's kind of like come with me, learn with me. I'm not like all knowing because
right.
just like with anything, there's so much information it's hard to know. Like
Yeah.
it's, and everything can be left up to some level of interpretation. But yeah, no, it's been oh my gosh, it's so fun and so sparkly.
I agree. Yes, I love it. Yeah. And then when you recently got your headshots, your branding photos done, I was like, girl, this is just so like crystal energy
Yeah.
really came out in those photos. It was
Yeah.
pretty cool. That's awesome. So tell me, like, how did you get into crystals in the first place? When?
Well, I think a lot of it, like kind of starting from way back, I grew up, my parents were divorced since I was a little kid.
Okay.
And my dad, he's always been really into like oddities, kind of like esoteric things. He's not particularly spiritual or anything like that, but he was the one that took me into my first like magical shop, and he bought me my first little crystal ball when I was a kid. Like he liked that stuff too, but never, I don't think he really thought much of it, just other than it was kind of cool, and it would be like something for me. And so I always kind of liked that stuff. I grew up just like loving any magical things. I loved, I don't know if you're younger than me, so I don't know if you remember, but there was this movie that came out in the 90s. There's a book, Roald Dahl, he's a very famous children's author, right? So he wrote like James and the Giant Peach, and he wrote this book called The Witches, and there was this old movie with Angelica Houston, and I was absolutely obsessed with that. That movie. It is so freaking creepy now when I watch it. I'm like, oh my God, how did my parents let me watch this like every day? But I was just always like into that stuff. And then I went off to college, and I went really deep into a lot of metaphysical things at that time. But, as we get older and we have to kind of like figure out our professional path, sometimes we kind of lose ourselves along the way, because I went into a medical program and it was very intense. And I really didn't have time for anything other than just like studying and kind of putting all this side of me kind of on the back burner. Not even intentional. I mean, that was just the way, the course of the way things went. Yeah. And so when, I think then the biggest thing for me was that I had a difficult time. I had my first son in 2017, and we were really happy, like having one child. I really only thought I wanted one child. And then our son was kind of like, he was maybe 2 or 3, and he's like, oh, I want a baby brother. And I was like, oh, and we were driving around looking at Christmas lights. And then my husband and I look at each other and we're like teary eyed, and we're like, oh, maybe we should try to have another baby. And I had gotten pregnant with my son like relatively easily. I'd had one miscarriage before him. I had one miscarriage before my first son. And so, but that's very common, first time pregnancies to lose a child. So, I mean, that was okay. I recovered from that. And then I got pregnant right away, and I had my son. And then all this time went by, and we tried to have another baby, and it was just like, it was not that easy. It was just like loss after loss after loss. And I just felt like I just kind of spiraled, and I really felt like I lost myself. And I did end up getting pregnant with my, with the baby, and I had the baby. And then we went into this period of time where, my mom had come out to help with, the baby during his first year of life. And that was like a really eye-opening time for me, because I, saw a side of my mom that I had not really, it opened some wounds from my childhood. Let's just say that.
Wow. Okay.
Because I was like, things with my own children that I would never subject them to. Like I was just seeing all the stuff, and it just like broke open all the stuff in my mom and I. It was just like really complicated situation. And so I think that is like really the catalyst that drove me into like reconnecting with my spiritual path because I really needed something.
Yeah.
I really needed something for myself. And I had gone on this girls' trip to Santa Fe, New Mexico, and which is a very magical place. And we were walking around these art galleries, and I found this beautiful little piece of celestite crystal. And I brought it home, and I had it on my bedside table, and I got some Palo Santo, and I would light that. And just that little ritual that I was doing every night, it was like kind of making me feel better and was clearing out this negative energy in my house. And I really do love my mom, but man, that was like the most trying like 8 months of my life. Honestly, it was so hard. Like she needed to go back to her house and I needed to be in my house, you know?
That's fair.
And then it just went from there. It was just like a light bulb clicked on that I felt so connected to all of this stuff. And it's not just crystals. It's just like, just being like connected to just the world around us, you know, and just being connected to life ultimately and not being just in this like constant hamster wheel of just like getting through the day to day and just taking in and noticing everything that's amazing and beautiful around us.
Did you know that roughly 75% of the population in the United States is not meeting the recommended daily intake of magnesium that our bodies need? Mind-blowing, right? I felt that way too. I had no idea just how important magnesium was for our bodies and our mental health until I delved into the world of integrative health as a result of my fertility journey. 2 years into our fertility journey, I connected with an integrative health practitioner who completely opened my eyes, you guys. Through a bunch of at-home lab work, I actually found out I was deficient in magnesium, which not a big surprise now looking back. On top of taking an organic magnesium supplement, my practitioner actually had highly recommended I use topical magnesium. She specifically recommended Good Night Lotion from Earthly Wellness. I had used a few of Earthly's products before this, and I loved the company and what it stood for. So honestly, I had no doubt in my mind that this product would be a good addition to my daily routine. At this point in the fertility journey, honestly, I was just willing to try anything to help. When the lotion arrived, I made it a part of my nightly routine to put it on my arms, my stomach, and legs every single night before going to bed. The first night I used it, you guys, I noticed a huge difference in how I slept that night. It was amazing. I fell asleep faster than normal. I stayed asleep longer. In general, there was less interrupted sleep patterns from night to night. It was truly incredible, the difference that this lotion made on me. Don't just take my word for it. Listen to these testimonies of other individuals who have seen success from using Earthly's Goodnight Lotion. One testimony says, I use Earthly's Goodnight Lotion almost every night and I absolutely love it. Another says, I have always used magnesium to help me fall asleep. So when I first used the Goodnight Lotion, I fell in love. It smells so good, feels soft and light on your skin, and keeps me asleep all night. The secret to getting a good night's sleep is truly to intake more magnesium, you guys. Magnesium actually does way more than just promote healthy sleep though. It also is a natural detox for your body. It helps maintain healthy blood sugar levels and supports your gut health too. And then another benefit from using it topically is that the nourishing oils and butters that are in it moisturize your skin while the body is absorbing the magnesium quickly. Amazing. In addition to these primary benefits, there's also so many other benefits that you receive just from getting a good night's sleep, like better overall functioning during the day, more restful sleep throughout the night, so then you perform better at work the next day, overall improved mental health, more physical stamina. I mean, I could go on and on, you guys. So be honest with yourself. Could you stand to improve your sleep habits? We all could. I would never recommend something that I myself haven't used and trusted long term. I've been using this lotion for 4 years now. The benefits continue to help me. In the 6 years of our fertility journey, I have worked with multiple integrative health practitioners who all recommend Earthly Wellness products to me, and they all swear by them too. The Good Night Lotion is just one of many quality, clean, non-toxic products that Earthly has to offer. And honestly, that's another amazing benefit of ordering through Earthly, is that all of their products are completely clean, non-toxic, which means they have absolutely no parabens, no phthalates, no fragrances, no preservatives, no allergens of any kind like corn, soy, gluten, dairy, or nuts, No junk at all in their products. And if you're like me and you're trying to rid your home of toxic products, then Earthly truly is your go-to place to shop. As a mental health therapist in a small rural county in eastern Iowa, I recommend this product constantly to clients who disclose that they struggle to get good sleep or if they suffer from insomnia. I always suggest trying something holistic before using any kind of medication or something that the body can become addicted to. That way you don't have to worry about experiencing any side effects as a result. Another great thing about this product, you guys, and why I suggest it to clients left and right, is that it can be used on adults and kids alike. That's an added bonus for sure. If any of what I shared resonates with you and you want to purchase this product or any other Earthly wellness products, check them out through my affiliate marketing link, which I'll link in the show notes of today's episode. Also, for a limited time, if you're a first-time user of Earthly products, you can get a discount using code CHOOSENATURAL. That'll give you a 10% discount off your first order. Again, if you didn't hear it the first time, use code CHOOSENATURAL, that's in all caps, and you'll get that 10% discount on your order. If you're a returning customer of Earthly's and would also like a discount, for a limited time only, I'm offering the code COMEBACK to get 10% off your order as well. Again, the code is in all caps, COMEBACK, COMEBACK. Improve your sleep today, feel better mentally, physically, emotionally. Seriously consider making Earthly Wellness a part of your health journey today, you guys. You will not regret it. All links will be in my show notes for today's episode if you're interested.
So right now I'm reading, I'm blanking on the title.
Oh, the
why woo woo works, or how
yeah,
woo-woo
yeah,
works.
I think that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. And so ironically, I do a chapter a day, and ironically, the chapter I read last night was the chapter on crystals. And what I found fascinating about it was a really long chapter, first of all. And what I found fascinating about it was how it talked about like the power behind intention setting, and a big part of the healing benefits that we get from crystals, like in large part, that is due to the intentions we set to those crystals. So like when it could be, whether it's based on the color, or if we read like this brings clarity to you or to the room, then that is the intention we put on it. Therefore, when you go into something with strong intentions, that's likely, it's like the law of attraction. What you are focused on is what you're going to get out of it. That's likely the benefit you're going to get from it.
Absolutely.
And I was like, holy shit. Like
100%.
I definitely didn't think it was that simple.
It's that simple. I mean, and that's the thing. It's like people think it's kind of like weird or whatever, but it's like, no, it's just like it's a very simple practice. It's not as crazy or kooky or whatever as you may think. It's really not. It's like a beautiful thing. It's like, okay, I mean, I have like this little piece of quartz, like,
yes,
I hold it, like I think about my intentions. It's a good opportunity to just like take a moment and just sit back and like think about the things that I want or don't want in my life. And it's not this weird thing that so many people think that it is, you know?
Right. Yeah. And the same with like burning or saging, like burning Palo Santo or saging. Like after the first time I saged our house, the house like reeked, and my husband,
oh, it's a strong scent.
Yeah, it's a very strong scent. And my husband was like, if you're going to do this witchy stuff, like maybe we need to open the windows first. And I was like, yeah, that's fair. Although I wasn't prepared for that. But it's the same thing. It's the intentions. Like the first time I did it was, after all my family had left for Thanksgiving one year. And like you're mentioning, like the energy that your mom had when she was with you. Yeah, I just needed to get rid of some negative energy in this house, because I was like, I'm not going into another work week with this just stagnant energy in my house, you know? And regardless of whether it truly was the sage or the Palo Santo or just my intentions and my thoughts as I'm burning it and as I'm walking through the house saying these affirmations, regardless, I felt like the house felt lighter afterwards.
And at the end of the day, does it really even matter? It doesn't matter, because if it works for you, you know, then that's really.
Yep. I totally agree. So
That's
to
the
all those
thing.
naysayers and all those people who are like, oh, this is just woo, it's like, it's actually not. Like, there's science. There are actual research articles out there. Like, the book I'm reading actually digs up all those research articles, which I love. So there's actual research out there proving how these things work. And so it's not woo, it's scientifically based as well. So I think that's
And I
amazing.
think like if you truthfully don't believe that it's going to work for you, then it probably will not. You know what I
Exactly.
mean? So it's like
Exactly.
if you have someone that's, if I have someone that comes over to my house and they're like, oh, what's all with all this crystal stuff? Like, oh, that doesn't work. Well, you know what? It probably is not going to work for you. Like, it's
Yep.
just not. If
Yep.
but whatever you do to let off steam or to feel better about yourself, that's probably not going to work for me. So
Right. Right.
it's an
Exactly.
individual practice.
Yeah. And that's something that the chapter of the book that I read last night talked about too, is like, it's no different than if two people are battling a sickness and one person comes into it with a positive attitude, telling himself like, I'm going to overcome this. My body's healthy and strong. I'm going to be fine. Versus another person going into it like, well, this effing sucks. And
Mm-hmm.
now I'm going to be sick forever. And the outcomes are going to be very different based on
Very
the
different.
thoughts you're thinking, the mindset you have through it. And that's the same. Like, I could hold a crystal and tell myself like clarity, positive thoughts. You could hold a crystal and tell yourself like, this is doing nothing for me. And we're going to have two very different experiences. And so that literally is what it comes down to, is like the intentions you set, the thoughts you bring to it, the energy you bring into it when you're using these things. They're all tools.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the intentions that we give those tools is what it comes down to. That was a game changer reading all of that. Like, it totally kind of like tweaked my mind a little bit. I feel like I just shifted in how I look at these things a little bit. So,
Oh yeah. I mean, honestly, I think I literally think like from the outside, I mean, I'm a walking testament of how this can help. I mean, because I used to be really into like health and fitness and stuff, which I still am, of
yeah,
course.
you
But
are.
I do
You
love all that
impress
stuff
me
too.
with your workouts, actually. You
Oh,
do.
yeah, I'm like, I can barely move today because I really overdid it yesterday, but I'm trying to get back in shape. Okay. Like, I've been living my best life the past year, and then I stepped on the scale and I was like, oh, wait a minute, too much living my best life. We gotta scale things back a little bit. Let's not have so much of a mom bod.
That's
Anyway,
funny
so
because from the outside in, Ashley, I see your workout pictures and I'm like, damn, she's looking good. Like,
oh yeah, well,
for a mom of two.
well, the filters do help. Okay. Let's
Okay.
just say that, and you get the right angle, so but yeah, I was like super into that. And then I would always be posting like on my Instagram and stuff, like all my like workout, like inspirational stuff. And then all this stuff happened like with the pregnancies and the postpartum and then my mom staying with us. And I just was like, I don't want to post anything. I'm just totally, I'm basically just like miserable. Like, I'm just going through the motions of the day. I'm having so much anxiety, all this stuff. And then, you know what? Then once I started tapping into all this stuff, like, I felt excited again. I felt excited about life again. I felt like I wanted to share things again. And everything, like literally everything just turned around. And I don't know if that's just because I had to change my mindset because I was so unhappy and miserable, or if it's the crystals, I don't know. I mean, it was so hard because it's like, here I am, everything that I could possibly want, in life. I have these two beautiful boys. I have a career that's, excellent. I have an amazing husband. Like, I literally have everything in the world that a person could possibly want. But then, like, why am I miserable? And I had to change things. And this has been such a huge, it's such a huge thing. Like, it's just been so helpful, and nothing sparkly ever hurts anybody.
No, gosh, no.
And it's like, it's not just, especially like we talked about earlier, it's not just about the crystals. It's all about the intention, and it's all about like an energy that you like bring to your life.
Yeah. Okay, you open the door, so I want to go in this direction. So big crystal energy is not solely about the pretty sparkly crystals. There is there is an intention, there is a brand behind this podcast. Can you shed some light on what the energy of Big Crystal Energy really means to you?
Right. So when I was thinking about naming the podcast, I did intentionally want it to be focused around crystals and crystal healing and just all the beautiful things that have to do with that. But I knew that I wanted it to be more expansive than that, because I had I have so many ideas of what I want to do and where I want to go. But I wanted it to be just about having like this energy, like a lifestyle, an energy of happiness, of confidence, of just being aware of yourself. Because like I mentioned before, so many people are just so much in just the routine of getting up and going to work and just going through the motions that they're missing life. Like every day we get up and this is our life. Like whether you like it or not, this is your life. And every day we have a choice of how we can attack each day. And some days we have a lot of crappy stuff on our plate, but we have a choice. Every day we have a choice of how we're going to deal with that. So I love talking about just being connected with nature, the moon cycles. I love being just like connected to our friends, having these deep conversations with people.
Yes.
And that's the thing, like just having that elevated energy, because I know like my friends and my family, they all say to me, like, you have such a different energy now.
Wow. Cool.
But it's like a conscious effort, right? It doesn't just happen. Yeah. Like you have to get up and you have to like think about these things. You have to, when you take a walk, you have to notice, oh, I noticed today that the leaves are changing or whatever, because we can easily just get up, go on our walk and just like have our head down and go. But like, just take it all in, take the world in. You only have this one lifetime human experience here. Mm-hmm. So take advantage of it. It's amazing. It's beautiful. Every moment's not perfect. Every moment's not awesome. Like we all have shitty things that we're going through, every single one of us.
Yeah.
But there are moments in the day where we can find something to be like excited about, have gratitude for. I mean, it's freaking wild how this world works.
Yeah, it is. I totally agree. Yep. I definitely think this world is way more spiritual than we think it is.
So much more.
Yeah, if you don't think there's a higher power at work in your life or around us, then you are living in the dark, because there is so much going on.
So much going on.
The eye, and it's amazing. The synchronicities and all of it. Yeah, It is amazing. So Big Crystal Energy podcast is more like, just to wrap up what you said, like it's more than just talking about crystals. It's more than just educating on crystals. It's really bringing to the surface this self-empowerment, self-confidence energy, so to speak. I mean, that's what you embody. That's what you bring to the podcast. And that's what you're trying to really like push out and spread to listeners, right?
Oh yeah. And I think too, it's like a lot of it too is just like accepting who you are and what you like. Because truthfully, there's a lot of people that don't understand this side of me, and they're kind of freaked out by it. They think it's maybe bad, or I don't know what people think. I can't get inside people's heads, but I know that, there have been instances where things that have happened that kind of caught me off guard, because I'm like, oh, wait, you think that what I'm doing is maybe negative in some way, but truthfully, it's quite the opposite. Like there's literally nothing negative about anything that I'm saying, but so many of these esoteric, maybe occult ideas are people think is negative stuff going on, which in fact there really is not. I mean, of course, anybody can take anything in a negative. You can make anything bad, right? Yeah. But for the most part, most of the stuff is really just being in touch with nature and being in touch with energy. And
it is.
How is that bad? I mean,
agree.
I don't want to say I've lost friends over it, but I've definitely had people that weren't comfortable with this, that have had a step back, that have kind of stepped back for me. And that's okay, because maybe ultimately those weren't truly my people.
Yeah.
And then people have come out and like been more attracted to this energy, and people that in my world that I didn't know liked all this stuff have now felt comfortable talking to me about that. And that's really cool too.
I totally agree. And I've experienced that as well. I feel like I have gone through an up level since my spiritual awakening, and I feel like I'm going through another one right now. But I just think we need to normalize that as adult women, well, just any adult, it doesn't have to be just women, but like as adult women it's okay for friendships aren't meant to last a lifetime. Not all friendships, I should say. And that it's normal and it's okay for friendships to only serve us for a season. And as you grow, as you up level, as you evolve, not all friendships are growing and evolving with you. And let's just normalize that being okay. And it doesn't mean you're ending that friendship with any bad blood. It doesn't mean you are burning bridges. It just means you both realize and recognize that Ashleigh is growing at this pace and I'm growing at this pace, and we're just not jiving. And that's okay. I have nothing against you and you have nothing against me. And when we see each other, we can still be cordial and respectful, but we're just not BFFs anymore, or, whatever. And I just feel like that's not talked about enough.
I love that. Totally it's agree. So true. I love that. I mean, it's so true. I mean, because so many times we think like, oh, we make a friend with somebody, and then whether or not we want them, they stay in our lives. And it's just like, well, that relationship isn't really serving me in that way anymore. And like, let's just move on. But it's hard. It can be hard because it feels like such a loss sometimes.
It does. Yeah. You definitely experience grief. But I got to say, like, some of the new friends that have come into my life since my spiritual awakening who are open to this kind of stuff, are open to the esoteric, are open to the more spiritual way of looking at things. Like, gosh, I like crave their energy. I crave being around them. Those are the girls I like text and like, hey, let's get coffee this week. Yeah. Like, I want to be around your energy. Yeah, so even though some friendships might not grow with you, they do tend to be replaced. I've definitely noticed that. Like, somebody else will walk into your life that is at that level and is joining you for this current or next season that you're evolving into, which, I mean, more just continue to come, I feel. I don't know if you've had that experience.
Oh, yeah. Did you say that you grew up Methodist?
Right? Yeah, so I grew up in a Methodist household. Yeah. And then, I consistently was Methodist, continued to go to a Methodist church up until after college. And then it was more just like non-denominational churches. And now I don't really feel drawn to one. But I will say, it all goes back to the spiritual awakening. I will say, like, I feel more connected, like when I'm meditating, when I'm doing yoga, when I'm out in nature, that's when I feel connected to the Holy Spirit. Or even like when I'm using crystals or when I'm doing my oracle cards or whatever it is, like, in my opinion, and this is just my opinion, like, we talk about the Holy Spirit and we talk about our inner knowing. I think those are one and the same. Like, totally. Your inner knowing does not ever steer you wrong. Well, neither does the Holy Spirit. So I truly think, like, when you're meditating and you're really like coming into your intuition, you're connecting with the Holy Spirit. I mean, I really do think those are the same thing.
Well, I mean, I think they are. I do. Yeah. I agree. I mean, I grew up, my dad's side of the family was very Catholic. My mom's side of the family was Presbyterian. My grandmas were very, very religious, but not in a pushy way. And I never felt connected to that. Like, I just never felt connected to, we always went to church. I had to go through catechism and all the Catholic stuff growing up. I never felt connected to it. My husband, he's Catholic. So we've always just kept going back to the Catholic church, and he likes to still go because he feels like that is when he goes to church, that's his moment of the week where he's just able to just be quiet and just be thankful. It's not that he necessarily connects that much with the Catholic faith, but it's that moment where he physically has to take his body out of all of his routine and like go and like just be there. I have so many issues with like a lot of traditional religions that it's just very hard for me. I will go because I am supportive of him, and I will spend that hour or whatever just thinking about the things that are important to me and not necessarily connecting at the church level. But it is hard, because especially when you have family and friends that are very religious, or, they're not sure what you're doing, but then they're kind of like making a lot of assumptions, but they're not asking any questions. So they're not really they don't even really know what you're up to. They just think that it's like out there.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah, my mom has even made comments about like certain family members saying things like when I go to sound healing, certain family members will say like, I don't get it. Like, why doesn't she just pray for healing instead of doing all these things? And I'm like, well, it's one and the same. Like, how do you know?
It's the same thing. It's actually it's more of it's like an active prayer, right? It's like you're like embodying the prayer. You're like actually going and taking action towards making it happen. That's more than just sitting there zoning out during the church service. Because how many people, I mean, truthfully, like so many people just go and they go through the rhythm of like going to church, and then they say that they're just like this whatever kind of person, but then are they actually living out those? I mean, is that how they're leading their life? Is that the kind of person that they're actually presenting to the world?
Yeah,
I mean, truthfully, I think that compared to many people that I know, I'm actually a lot more sweet, like kind, like generous person. And I don't follow that way of being,
Yeah. I like, well, when I did the episode on religion and spirituality with Hillary, I liked how she went back to like, ultimately our goal is just to spread unconditional love. Like that's what God asks of us. And that's our goal as humans. And that is what it comes down to. I mean, I feel like my goal is not different than a Catholic school than in a Methodist school. Like those are terms that humans gave to churches, is Methodist, Catholic, Baptist. But like ultimately all of us have the same goal, just to spread that unconditional love. So you know what I mean? Like, why does it really, like, why do we have to have these different titles,
Well, exactly. And like, how can one way be the right way? I mean, we live on this earth where there's billions of people, and there's all these different ways of looking at spirituality. Like, how could there be one possible way that's right?
Yeah.
And that's why I say, just lean into what feels right for you. You may get some pushback from people, but ultimately it's your life. It's your existence, especially if you're an adult. If you're not doing anything negative, you're not hurting anybody, and you're being a good person, like, why does it matter? Like, just believe and be what you want to be.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. And so, bringing it back around to like these tools that we use, like these tools are what I feel like your husband saying, like maybe I'm using my own words, but like saying that he feels like grounded and at peace when he goes to church that one time every week. I feel that like when I use some of these tools, when I sit outside with my crystals, or when I do maybe an oracle card reading at the end of the week, or, whatever it might be, meditation. Like I'm doing this 75 aligned challenge right now, and I'm doing daily meditation as part of it. And I just, holy cow, that has been a game changer for me. Like I didn't think daily meditation was going to really like impact me like it has, but wow, it's been amazing. And those are things that ground me. So like I get people feel like going to church is that brings them that peace in their heart that they need. But like I get that daily from these aligned practices that I'm now doing. And I wouldn't change that for the world. I mean, the benefits on my physical health, my mental health, and my spiritual health from all of these practices is unlike anything, in my opinion. I'm so grateful for it. And it, like you said, like it feels aligned. It feels aligned with my heart right now. And ultimately, like that's what matters. Like I don't care what anyone else thinks. Like I'm going to practice and I'm going to do what feels right and aligned with my soul, with where I'm at right now in my soul's journey.
Yeah. I mean, it's really, I know it's hard for people to, I think it is just hard for people to accept themselves sometimes in general.
Yeah.
And
absolutely.
just be okay with who they are and what they like. And we always want to please others, and we always want to, we don't want to rock the boat, and we don't want to necessarily stand out or be different. But I think like the greatest things in my life are the parts of it that have been where I'm not just like every other person. I am the person that I am. I attract a different type of energy because I bring that energy with me everywhere I go.
Yeah. Yep, I totally agree. And I feel like I'm more grounded in my spirituality now than I've ever been in my life.
Ever.
I
Yeah,
mean,
totally.
yeah, like I've let go of what people think of me, which is huge. And I think we got to remember, like, when people who, call themselves Christians, but maybe come off very judgmental, or, there's always those certain individuals where you walk into the church and like judgment is written all over their face. Like, I think we have to remember, like, we are mirrors of other people. And so those comments that people make towards us about our practices, about our beliefs, really isn't about us in the end. It's a direct reflection of their own insecurities. And so, like, that has helped me at least. Like, I
Yes.
just, whenever I hear those comments, whether it's a family member making it or, somebody in the community or whatever, I'm always like, there's something in me that's mirroring an insecurity within you. So I recognize that this really isn't about me and what I'm practicing and what I'm believing. It's just about your own insecurities. And that's okay, because we all have them. So that's fine.
We do. We do.
Yeah.
We just
Yeah.
work through them in our own ways. But it's
Yeah.
true. I mean, I know, like, I think I had mentioned to you through a message, I have a friend who we've been friends for a long time, and our kids have been friends since they were babies. And we used to be neighbors. And then we had invited her son to come over and spend the night. And she texts me and she's just like, well, I'm really happy for your spiritual path, but my family doesn't believe in these things. So please don't expose my son to that stuff while he's at your house. And I'm just like, what do you think I'm going to do to your kid when he comes to my house? Am I going to what am I going to do? Like, seriously, like,
for real, like whatever she's picturing in her head.
I'm like, I know. I'm like, I don't know what you think I'm going to do. I'm not like, if my son goes to your house, I would never be like, well, you can't pray with him before dinner and you can't, you can't say any of this. I'm like, my house is not creepy. When your son comes over, he's not going to notice anything that's abnormal. And I'm not going to be doing like, spells on him or whatever. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, I don't.
It's so funny to me when you share that. I was like, wow. I kind of compare it to like a lot of my friends growing up were Catholic and we were not. And so my mom just always told me, like, when you go stay the night at your best friend's house, like, they're going to do this prayer before they eat supper and they do the cross symbol, and just know, like, that's just what Catholics do and you don't have to do it. That's just something that they do. And it's like, you just, like, this is just their practice and no judgment. It's fine, and it's the same. Like, it
is the same. And I just, at first, like, when I was reading through that message, I was just like, oh my gosh, like, what kind of person does she think I am? Like, what am I got, like, evil stuff going on at my house? Like, you've known me for like almost 10 years. You know who I am. I'm still the same person. But then I thought, you know what? I'm going to sit back with this and I'm going to think, like, you know what? She just doesn't understand.
Yeah, exactly. That's the mirror thing.
She just doesn't understand. And she's very, like, literally, like, the sweetest person ever. And I saw her last night and I haven't seen her in a long time. And she was so warm and loving and, like, but doesn't want to go there, doesn't want to go there on all this stuff with me, but it's like, I don't know. It did hurt. It did hurt, a little bit. And I've kind of processing that. But I mean, for the most part, I think either people think it's weird and they're just not comfortable talking about it, or they're kind of interested and they kind of want to dabble a little bit, or they're like, oh, wow, this is so cool. Like, tell me more.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think what's cool about, like, all of these esoteric things, but crystals specifically, is like each one represents something different. And I like how, I don't know, I have really transitioned in the last year. And now it's like, I want to wear crystal jewelry and I want crystal earrings. Like, I like what they represent. I like for the longest time this summer, I was like, I really want to try and find like a moonstone piece of jewelry. Like, I don't know what it is. I think somewhere I read that it like has some kind of a benefit on our hormones. And I was like, what? That is so crazy. And so because of that, I was like, I got to find a moonstone. And I didn't tell a lot of people this, but I just was like, in divine timing, I'm going to cross paths with a moonstone and then I'm going to buy it. And then my husband must have seen me scrolling one night before bed. And so for my birthday, he gifted me a set of moonstone earrings and a moonstone necklace. And I was like,
That's
what?
amazing.
Like, that is so crazy. And now I'm like looking at my jewelry and I'm slowly like going out with the old, and more and more of my necklaces are more like crystal necklaces. And I'm like, this is kind of cool. Like I've really transitioned in the last, I would say in the last year, but mainly in the last 6 months. It's like, I just like when I'm picking out my jewelry in the morning, like I'm not doing it based on like what matches my clothes. Now it's like, okay, how do I want to feel today? I don't know. Like that's just not, I did not used to be that way. And I kind of like it, you know?
Oh yeah. It's so cool. Like I know, I have, some different necklaces, you know, and like bigger pieces that I wear to my office at work. And patients are often very interested, you know, they see that and, they're very interested and they ask, and, you know, it makes me feel a certain way, but then it's always like, it can be like a topic of conversation, and, you know, and I think people then feel like, oh, I can talk to her, you know, it's not, cause I always feel like I'm able to connect with people and not just about their like, physical issue that they have, but I can always kind of tap into like more of the psychological side of it, because especially when you're dealing with surgery or trauma, physical trauma, there's such a mental aspect to that, because it's such a life-changing situation for a lot of people. You know, people maybe not be able to work anymore, or they have to get a different type of career, or they become disabled, or maybe they're able to go back to work and it's like an amazing outcome or something like that. But there's so much of a psychological piece to it that a lot of providers, especially that I work with, like they're just not comfortable tapping into that. Yeah. And a lot, because I work with a lot of men too, you know, it's like orthopedic is a very male dominated field. You know, you have to be tough. It's not, you know, it's not a warm, feely type of career path. But I mean, I feel like I have these people that repeatedly want to come back to me because I give them a little bit more of that comfort, and I will talk to them about these things, because it's a lot. It's a lot to go through. I mean, I see it. Like I have a patient who had a horrible I think she had a tibia, which is in the bigger bone in the lower leg, this huge tibia fracture. And she's a roller derby girl.
Wow.
And, you know, she had the injury while she was doing her roller derby. And now it didn't heal well. And it's been like this 2-year process where she hasn't really been able to walk. And she's young. She's like in her 30s. And, you know, and like we were talking and we were just like, I was like, hey, like, how are you doing like mentally with all this? And she's like, oh my gosh, I just want to skate again. And, you know, and then she's crying and releasing all this stuff. And I'm like, yeah, like most of the time when you come in here, people are like, well, your x-rays look like this. And, you know, you need to go to physical therapy and you need to do this. And nobody ever says like, hey, like, how are you doing?
Yeah. Yeah. That's true.
So, I mean, it's like, it goes everywhere. Like my crystals, my crystal vibe, I take it everywhere with me. I try to infuse everybody with it.
That's actually what that topic itself is actually talked about in the book that I'm reading as well, is like, why can't we mix some of these esoteric things in with our modern Western medicine practices? Like, that's why like you having crystals on your desk at work is actually awesome. And like more practitioners should do that. Or like, you know, if we had hospitals with Reiki practitioners there as well, like how freaking powerful would that be? You know,
I agree. I mean, and I'm always telling my manager, I'm like, you know, I'd be happy to lead something here for you guys. Like, just let me know. And it's so funny because one of the providers that I work with, he's like totally thinks like all this stuff is so like kooky that I'm into.
I'm sure. Yeah.
But yet every time he's in the office, whose desk does he want to sit at when I'm not there? Always my desk. I'm like, well, I guess just saying, there must be a reason why you want to sit there, because I think you like the vibe.
Yeah, there's no coincidence there. Wow, that's amazing. It's cool. I mean, your podcast brings more of that feminine energy into your life, and then where you work is definitely more of that masculine energy.
Oh, yeah.
So I think it's cool that you have that balance in your life too. That's pretty neat.
Yeah, it is neat.
Do you also, are you trained in Reiki?
I'm going through a training now.
Are you? Oh,
yeah.
Cool, Ashleigh. I didn't know that.
It is.
That's
it's
awesome.
just online. I wish it was in person, but I'm doing online. Just because
I feel like you'd be good at that.
I think so. I think I just I wanted to learn. It's just like an intro course.
Yeah.
I just wanted to learn more about it, and then how to kind of implement it for myself.
So I'm just curious. So you're taking this Intro to Reiki course now, which I think that makes complete sense. I feel like you probably have the abilities to practice, but this will definitely
Well, I mean, the instructor says everybody's able to do it. Everybody has it. Everybody has it within them, and Reiki. I really didn't know anything about Reiki, and I really attribute a huge part of my evolution to Reiki because I just was looking for this healing when my mom had first left our house and gone back to her house.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, I just felt like I was so mentally, spiritually, everything. I was so depleted and drained. And I was like, I'm going to try Reiki. And boy, that first session that I had, it was wild. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know if I'd feel anything. And I was laying there and I just saw all this purple and all these swirling colors. And it was whoa, what is happening here? And truthfully, boom, right after that, everything just started changing.
Wow.
It was absolutely wild.
Okay.
It had such an impact. And then I've gone back and, it's really cool. I wish I could go more, but it's just hard because I don't really have anyone close to where I live. I have to drive about an hour away.
Are you serious?
I don't know. Where I live is kind of weird. There's just not that much. There's just not that much available here. There's probably more in Iowa than there is here.
Oh, yeah. In my office, we're a wellness clinic. There's a chiropractor, me, a pediatrician, a Reiki practitioner, a massage therapist who's also a medium. So
that's amazing.
Yeah, she's right there. The medium / massage therapist is also a Reiki master. And then I have Hillary, obviously.
Yeah.
And then a gal I used to go to who's just a half hour from here. Oh, there's so many, but I just feel around here, it's just really grown in popularity. So that's just
maybe part of it is, yeah, no, maybe this part of it is just, I need to look a little closer. But yeah, it just doesn't seem as prevalent around here, but
wow,
that's just more opportunity for me.
Yeah, absolutely. So besides that course, is there anything else coming down the pipe, in the future, any future goals, any future plans, whether it be for the podcast, for you personally, professionally, anything on the horizon?
Yeah. I mean, I'd love to grow the podcast. It's been really difficult this year because I've been doing a lot of, traveling and stuff like that. So I am working on getting guests on. I want to, oh my gosh.
Actually, you are the travel queen.
I know it's a lot. It's cool, but it's amazing, but it's been a lot this year. I'd love to somehow start working. I'd love to have clients either virtual or in person. I'd love to have clients that I'm working with one-on-one. That would be so fun. I'd love to maybe because I have this amazing property out in the country. I would love to have a retreat, do retreats out here.
Okay.
That would be super fun. New moon, full moon retreats. I have this beautiful fire pit and olive trees, and it's very magical out here.
Love it.
It's amazingly magical out here. Yes.
Okay.
And it's only about 40 minutes from my house. So it's not, we're turning it into an Airbnb right now, but I can block times where I can use it for myself. I'd love to get.
Where in California are you? Can you remind me?
So I live in a town called Lodi, which is just right outside of Stockton. So it's kind of central, north central. I live south of Sacramento is our biggest city.
Okay. Gotcha.
And then this town where I have my house, the country house, is called Valley Springs. And it's just kind of out in the middle of nowhere in the foothills.
Cool.
And it's really beautiful, especially at this time of year with the changing. I mean, we do get changing seasons in California. It's not especially up here because it gets cold in the winter here. It doesn't
Okay.
snow, but maybe like a half an hour from my country house, it will snow. So we have snow that is relatively close.
Cool.
But yeah, I'd love to do all that kind of stuff. That would be super fun. I have, more traveling coming up, and then I'm hoping next year is not as chaotic.
And am I correct in saying you're going to Salem?
Oh my gosh. Right? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Next week at this time, I'm going to be in Salem.
Next
Sunday.
Cool.
I'm at this time. I'm going to be doing the Hocus Pocus tour.
Oh, I'm so excited for you. That's awesome.
I know. We were watching Hocus Pocus yesterday with my kids, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, you guys are going to see this and you're going to see that." And my son's like, "Mom, there's no rides there." So I'm like, "Okay, well, this trip is not for you. This is for me."
Right.
It's not always all about you.
Yes. I always wondered like how crazy Salem must be around Halloween.
It's going to be crazy.
I bet. But how magical.
It's going to be cool. I think that because we're going to be there like at the very tail end of September, like the first week of October, I'm hoping, and then we're going to be there during the middle of the week, that maybe it's not going to be as chaotic. And then my really good friend that we went to medical school and stuff together, she lives over there, and she's going to meet us, and we are totally like going to nerd out on all the magical witchy Halloween-y stuff, because she's just like me. So it's going to be super fun to have like a really close friend there experiencing it all with me too.
Awesome.
So I can't wait
to see your stories.
Oh yeah. Gosh. I'm going to do a whole podcast episode on the trip, because we're also going to drive down to, which is about 3 hours south, is Sleepy Hollow, New York, which is where, the famous Headless Horseman, all the lore around that. And so that is an adorable little, town. And oh my gosh, it's going to be truly like so much history, a lot of history. Yeah. I'm a big history dork. So it's going to be like,
you and my husband.
I'm going to get a psychic reading in Salem by a famous Salem witch. So that's going to be.
Wow. I feel like you could have like 3 podcast episodes come out.
I think I might.
Cool.
I think I might.
Ugh, I'm excited.
Yeah, it's going to be super fun. You want to come? Okay. You're so tiny, I could pack you in my suitcase.
Yes, I would like to. That sounds amazing. Oh my gosh, I can't wait. So if you're not following Ashleigh on Instagram, I'll put her handles in the show notes, but seriously follow her, because, I'm telling you, like, I vicariously lived through her stories. I'm you're in Hawaii now? Awesome. I'm in Hawaii. Like,
yes, well.
I just love it. I love it. So definitely give her a follow. You have a lot of fun things planned. I'm super excited for you. The podcast will grow. I'm telling you, we started at the same time. I feel like my organic growth has been more than I even anticipated.
Oh yeah, for sure. For sure.
Just continue. And then as you do collabs, as you bring guests on, like, that'll really help. And I have no doubt it's going to take off. I feel like, we talked about this before we got on, but I feel like this is a topic, not just crystals, but I just feel like in general, the esoteric general topic is an area that more and more people are like being awakened to. Mm-hmm. And so I have no doubt that you're just going to continue to gain more and more followers. And yeah, I really appreciate that you were willing to come on here.
Oh yeah, it's been super fun.
I haven't done collabs. I didn't know if you'd be open to it. So
I'm open. I'm trying to get my own setup, scheduled on my end. But it's so hard because I've just I have hardly any free time. It's good because it's all like self-inflicted stuff, but at the same time it just becomes a little overwhelming. So I'm hoping that in the next year I can really like look at the calendar, and I have a lot of people that I want to hit up and see if they'll come on, if they'd be willing to. Yes. Sometimes it's hard to feel like to reach out,
It is. I totally agree. But like, then when you do it and they say yes, like that gives you the motivation to like, okay, I can say it to a second person. Like mine really, that like muscle, I would say, really grew when I went to Powerhouse Women, because every woman that I met, like I didn't know anybody there. And every woman that I met was like, how can I support you in your business? And my go-to was like, you could come on my podcast. They'd be like, absolutely, let's schedule it. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, oh yeah, I have a list going into winter of all of these.
That's amazing.
That I've met. Highly recommend you go.
Well, I love your podcast because, you go in so many different directions with how you approach like therapy and healing, because there's so many different ways that you can go. I mean, there's just so many avenues, because there's so many different ways people will connect.
Right. Well, I just felt I didn't want to like get too specific because I just felt in my healing journey and my wellness journey, like I I went in so many different directions. I did the mental health stuff, and then I really dabbled into spiritual health and a lot of like physical health stuff too. And so it's like I can't just focus on one area. Plus, they all impact each other. So when we're talking health and wellness, it really has to be the whole body health. You know, it can't, and personal development too. Like that's a big part of it too. So I just didn't want to like pigeonhole myself to like one specific area because I wanted to be able to talk about whatever was going on. And yeah, it's been so good. And I'm sure you can say the same. Like this has just been so good for me and my growth.
Yes, for sure. Can I offer one thing for listeners if they're interested in crystals?
Please.
So
Yes,
I would
please.
say, like, if you are hearing this podcast and you've never really thought about crystals, or you don't really know where to begin or whatever, I would say, if you want to go, if you can find like a local crystal shop, metaphysical shop. Two things I would say is, if you are struggling with figuring out what you like intuitively, just get yourself a piece of clear quartz, because clear quartz is the master healer. It's great for everything. It's beautiful. It's typically not overly expensive. You can get it like I love just the the spheres, because I just think they have like such a magical vibe. But you can get like a point. They're often beautiful and just like a necklace, and they're so good for everything. Oh, and you've got that's selenite. I love selenite.
Was my first.
I love that.
From my cousin in San Diego. She shipped it from San Diego.
Oh yeah, I love that. Isn't that pretty? I love how they usually will carve the selenite like that. Yes. I just have like a little piece of like a selenite.
Love that.
This is my travel kit. I have, this crystal ball is not part of my travel kit, but I have like a little tin that I carry like some of my crystals and maybe a little piece of sage and like some stuff. And then when I'm traveling, I'll set it up on like in my hotel on my bedside table or something like that, just because I like to just carry my little things, or I'll take them to the beach or whatever I like to do.
Yes.
But the other thing is, if you go into a shop, just think about things that like colors that you like, or different shapes. Crystals come in like tumbled stones, or they come in points, or they come in, sometimes there's carvings, skull carvings, hearts. I love the little heart carvings. Yes. Just walk around and find something that you're attracted to. You don't need to spend so much time like looking at what they're actually like, what the definitions are on the little cards and stuff. Just find what you could connect with, because all these crystals, there's thousands and thousands of crystals. They're very hard to remember what all the different meanings are. The meanings can be very contradictory, or different, different sources can say that they mean different things. I think the best thing to do is just to like, what does it mean to you? Because there's truthfully there's no right or wrong way. Like a crystal, there's no way that it could have like necessarily like a specific meaning. I think that like us as humans, like we want to give things a specific meaning, and that's where a lot of them come from, is just us like putting our ideas on them. But a lot of people like a rose quartz. That's very supposedly like very good for healing, for love, self-love, and things like that. But if you don't find that you connect that way with a rose quartz, then who cares? Like if you find it to mean something different to you, or you just don't like that in general, and then you're like, well, there's no other stone out there for me for love. Like that's not true. Right. So there's always lots of options. So either start with some clear quartz, or just go in and pick something that you just like. That's a good place to start. Very simple.
The advice that was always given to me was like, don't overthink it. When you go into a crystal shop, it can be very overwhelming, but don't overthink it. And ultimately, like you said, like what your favorite color is, you'll be drawn to one, and you may not know why, but you'll be drawn to one. And that's a divine intervention. Like that's the one you're meant to be drawn to. So like, well, my favorite color is pink, but I was actually drawn to blue stones the first time I went, or crystal stones. I was drawn to blue the first time I went to a crystal shop. And I didn't know anything about them. And I think it's called blue obsidian. So there was like 3 different shades of it. But like, I was really drawn to these because I am really drawn to the beach, to the ocean.
Yeah.
And these to me represent like, I have the lightest blue all the way to the darkest blue, because it's like, as the ocean gets deeper. I just saw those and I was like, oh, this is, and it to me, like blue is a very calming, which for most people, blue is a very calming, relaxing color. And so I'm not surprised I was drawn to that because I'm a beach lover and anything with water I'm attracted to. So yeah, you'll be drawn organically to one over the other. It may be because like what Ashleigh said, your favorite color, but it might be because like, I think in a past life I was a mermaid. So I think I love the ocean. Like, you know, there may be reasons that you're drawn to certain ones. And then, like look into like what the different meanings are of it. But then, ultimately it's what meaning resonates most with you that maybe you're called to it for that reason. But don't overthink it.
Don't overthink it. That's the thing. Don't overthink it. Just pick what you like and maybe pick up a few different tumbled stones. Usually like the tumbles are not as expensive. You know, you don't need to start with like a big expensive piece. And honestly, the size of the stone, it does not matter. Some of the most powerful, the most powerful stones that I have in my collection sometimes are very tiny.
Yep.
But I have like a specific like affinity for them because maybe they remind me of a certain place or someone gave it to me or whatever. And then like I have some bigger pieces, but I like them. I think they're beautiful, but for me, they don't really do much for my energetics. They're just more of like a statement piece or they're just pretty.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for sharing that. Before we wrap up, this is the perfect transition into my rapid fire questions. So Ashleigh, what is a book that you're currently reading?
I am reading, oh my gosh, I'm reading like so many books.
Are you really? I don't know how people can do that.
Insanity.
That's
what it comes down to. Yes. No, the book I'm reading currently, it's called The Once and Future Witches. It's by Alex Harrow. I love witchy books, but especially because we're going into fall. And I do have a book club with some of my friends locally, but they never read the book. Just one of my friends reads the book. So it's like just a girl gathering without reading the book. So I'm like, well, let's actually read the book this time because it's like a witchy book for Halloween. So I just got started on that, and that's pretty cool. For the holiday Halloweeny vibes. Yeah,
that's perfect. I'm not even surprised. What is one thing you can't live without besides your cell phone?
Coffee.
You need your caffeine. That doesn't surprise me. I don't know how you do everything you do otherwise.
I need my coffee. I don't even know. Honestly, I don't even know if it works. It's just that comfort of like, I wake up in the morning and I'm like, I'm going to go down and make my espresso right now. Yeah. It's just that tradition. Cause I'll go down. I have like this little Nespresso machine. I go in, I make my little espresso. I walk over to my little kitchen altar. I pull my oracle card and I kind of just like set my intention for the day. And then, and then the chaos ensues. Then everybody wakes up and it's just chaos.
That's your routine.
Uh-huh.
What is your current go-to podcast?
There's a podcast that I've been loving. It's called Demystify Magic. I love that podcast. Have you heard of that?
I think so. I'll put it in the show notes.
Molly and Madison. Molly, one of the podcast hosts, she is the one that has the Reiki course that I'm doing. I love their podcast because they really break down like all this magical stuff too, to make it like more just more accessible to just everyday people.
Yeah. Okay. I love that. I might have to give them a follow then.
I think you would love them. 100%.
What is a song that whenever it comes on, you have to sing along to?
Here. Baby shark doo 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 doo. Baby shark doo 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 doo.
That is so funny because you're the second collab to say that. And she was a mom also of little. So she's like, it just is. I can't not sing it. I'm like,
no, the other one that we love is This Is Halloween, from The Nightmare Before Christmas. This is Halloween. This is Halloween.
Yes.
Pumpkin scream in the dead of night.
Thanks for that, Ashleigh. That'll be the song I put on.
I do actually like music that's not child music too.
I'm sure, but like that's just what's always playing, right?
Yeah.
You can't help it. All right, last one. What is your favorite way to relax at the end of a long day?
I love getting in bed with the kiddos, and I love to just try to read a little bit of my book, and then I'm usually dead tired because I've done 9 million things. So that's the best way that we like to wind down at the end of the night.
I love it. That's perfect. All right. Well, Ashleigh, again, I really appreciate that you took the time to do this. I know we had to reschedule a couple of times, but
That's
I also
all right.
felt like of all people, you totally understood that. So thank you for being flexible. Thank you for coming on here.
It's been super fun.
Insight. It was fun. I feel like the conversation between us just like organically flows, and I love that. And I'm appreciative of your friendship. I know, like, I did not anticipate this friendship blossoming how it did, but I'm really appreciative of it, and I appreciate your support with the business and the
Girl,
podcast.
We'd be besties if I lived in Iowa or you lived in California. We would be going to all the sound baths together. We'd be doing all the things together.
Yeah, I totally agree.
It'd be
and
so
thank you
fun
for your support as I go through the fertility journey, because you share your story, like, that was a game changer in my life. There's not very many women who have had kids a little later. And so hearing that from you, like,
it's hard,
it impacted me in a big way. So
I'm glad. Yeah. I mean, it's hard. Like, especially we feel like so much pressure as we get older, that the time is running out. And, and I said to myself, if I didn't get pregnant and I was able to maintain the pregnancy before I turned 40, that was it. I wasn't going to try after I was 40. That was just my cutoff. A lot of women have babies over 40 and they're totally healthy and fine. But for me, I just didn't want to. And then, I got pregnant with him a month before I turned 40. So,
oh my gosh, I didn't know that. That's awesome.
Yep. The month before I turned 40, I got pregnant with him. And so my 40th birthday was a real wild time pregnant,
Yeah. Wow. That's funny. Well, thank you. And
yes, of course.
Until next time, you guys have a great rest of your week, and I will talk to you next week.
Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to us. It means so much to me. If there were any aha moments or anything that really resonated with you on today's episode, then please take a minute and share it on your social media and tag me so I can personally thank you. Also, if you could, please rate and review the podcast, as it is new, and that really helps to get the word out there more and reach even more listeners. I'll catch you on the next episode.